Good evening, everybody out there, and welcome to another episode, another show of Swinging from the Hip. This evening, we're going to cover off the second test, the New Zealand versus Pakistan match. We'll hopefully get into look at the future tours that have been arranged for New Zealand by New Zealand Cricket, and we'll hopefully have a quick chat about the Super Smash. And how that tournament's going. I'm hopefully going to be joined by Taz and Taryn, our local experts. So you'll just not have my opinion, which is not worth much, but yep. So, but unfortunately, Taryn's at the moment just watching the India and Australia Test match, the last stages of it. I'm keeping an eye out on my phone through Tribe, and also trying to watch follow the Canterbury Kings versus the Auckland Aces Super Smash game going on at the same time. So lots and lots of cricket happening at the moment all around us, and hopefully we can keep you up to date from our end here. Obviously, as well, on the weekend we had another round of club cricket up here in Auckland, and on Sunday we had the Prems playing at the T20 tournament, and I know that Paul was out at Kenmore Park. They're out west watching a few games and getting a few interviews, and those interviews have been posted on the site, so get in there and have a look. I think he's got an interview with the North Shore captain there, two-time winners over the weekend, and also has an interview with the Hibiscus Coast coach, I think it was, that I saw, Paul, correct?
Oh, dear me, I'll have to, let me rescue here.
You come in and quickly.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, yes, so I was there, so I got to have a chat with the captain of North Shore, and also their debutant bowler as well. So Lewis, there was his first T20 Premiership game, and he took a wicket as well. Good lad. So he was happy after that one. Hibiscus coached. Had a chat with their captain Paul, who could have won the game but decided not to. So you can listen to that as to how he how he was gentlemanly or showed good gamesmanship. There also got to chat with the captain of Suburbs after their win or whatnot. They weren't quite available. I couldn't find them after their loss, but I got them after their win, and also had a chat with Taz and Arun after from QMU as well. So yeah, there's 6 interviews there up on the site. 6, is that right? 6 or 6, 5 or 6 anyway. Up there on the site now. So go check those all out. And went by the site. It's New Zealand Sport Radio Facebook page is where you can find those. But yeah, this
good place to be, Ken Wonder, wasn't it? Especially that Hibiscus and QMU game, even though it was a low scoring affair, ended up in a tie on the very last ball of the match. So, good place to be. We were waiting for the super over, but that didn't occur because there's no room for a super over, unfortunately.
No room for a super over in that one. But talking about ties, let's just bring everyone up to speed with the with the Test match. So I think it's probably most people will know Australia put on 338 in the first innings, and in reply, India just got to 244. Really, batsmen either got in or got nothing in the first innings. Australia then put in 312 for 6 declared, and put India into bat. And you've got to say, one of the things that's from this is Steve Smith has suddenly come back into form, hasn't he? After over a year without a century, he gets 131 in the first innings and 81 in the second innings. So yeah, he's back in form, isn't he?
Yeah, look, it's class players like that. It's just a matter of time, isn't it? The runs just keep flowing from their bats, and that's why they're, he's one of the top 3 premier batsmen in the world. and obviously also there with Manus Labuschagne, the other Australian informed batsman. I think Manus got 97 in the first innings, and
91 and 73 were his scores.
Yeah. So there's the other class batsmen in that Australian side coming through. Obviously, I saw the first bits of the start of the Test match in the first morning there, and the other guy who's pretty prolific, David Warner, just didn't look match fit to me. I think he's still got a few issues with that groin. When you had a look at him after taking his first quick single in that first morning, you could sighted limp started reoccurring there. So it was it's interesting. Maybe the Aussies just so desperate to get two opening batsmen with the failures of the previous two players. Maybe they were just desperate to play Warner, and because of what he theoretically what he can bring to the game, which is quite a bit, obviously.
As you're saying, class's permanent form is temporary, and he could be on the edge. Then in the fourth innings, it was a good start by Sharma and Gill for India. Both those were out before the close of play yesterday, scoring 52 and 31. And then Pujara sort of laid anchor and got a bit of criticism from Australian commentators today for blocking. And you're like, guys, he's trying to save a test match here. He doesn't need, if he stays in at one end, and you've got players like Pant at the other end scoring 97 off only 118 balls. I mean, that's not that he was going for the win. But it's, as long as Pujara was there at the other end, he could afford to, couldn't he?
Exactly. I mean, I think it's quite obvious. Anyone who's watched Pujara playing test matches, and he's only a test match player, and he's pretty much he puts up a wall at the one end of the pitch, and the others bat around, and that's I think the formula that they sort of work to. And Pant there, Rishabh Pant, like you saw, I was watching some of that, and obviously he's injured, and he was playing with an injury. Like there's a couple. There's another. I think at the moment, Vihari, who's batting with Ashwin, trying to save the Test match. He's batting there with, and it's like he's got a hamstring strain as well. So there's not much running going on. If you hit the ball out to the boundary, he can take a one. But yeah, he's they're just putting up a real dogged fight at the moment and denying Australia. So no doubt the Aussies are getting frustrated in the commentary box, is no doubt on the field as well. So
absolutely
they come up with some excuses and start blaming some people, don't they?
Well, but Pujara had a strike rate of 37.6. Okay, I mean, not rocket speed by any stretch. It is slow, but if they thought he was blocking, boy oh boy, Vihari. I mean, as soon as they lost Pant and Pujara, let's be honest, the win had gone out the window, and it was down to draw time now. But whilst those guys were in, the opportunity was there. But when Vihari came in, boy, he just dropped anchor. 23 runs so far off 159 balls, a strike rate of 14.5, and he sped up because he was in single figures earlier.
Yeah, I think it was at one stage. I think it was in about 9 or 10 off nearly 100 balls. Or 7, was it, when I was just watching a little while ago? But I mean, look, they, like you say, when Pujara and Pant were in there was an outside chance that India may win the Test, especially with the way Rishabh Pant was batting. Pujara's job was to stay there, and it always is, and the other guys to come in and get the runs. But as soon as those two have gone, the whole objective changed for us India when it's a matter of saving the Test. And the other thing is they've got the next batsman and who I saw padded up. I've just forgotten the batsman's
Jadeja.
Jadeja, yeah. Now he's injured as well. He's got he's got a wrist problem. So but he's padded up, ready to come out. But obviously, if he had been fit, then I'm sure the run chase thing would have been a different story. He would have come out and they would have still kept going, trying to score those runs. And look, it looks like, they're going to, they're not too far really behind, even with those injuries, are they, Paul? I mean, 73 runs, I think I'm looking at it. Oh, that game's just ended now. Tribe's just updated, so the match has been drawn. There you go.
So we've got to say congratulations to Vihari and Ashwin there for sticking around for a long time. So Vihari will be undefeated at 23 off 161 balls, and Ashwin 39 off 128 balls. Those guys did a fantastic job. Where you got to say Australia would have thought, hey, we've made the breakthrough. Here's our chance. No, the door was closed right in their face.
Yeah, the door was, they thought the door was ajar, but it's been slammed in their faces, the saying goes, and it was locked and sealed, and there was no way they were getting in. So, and, look, I know they tried all sorts of things there while I was watching. Obviously, they had Cummins coming in and doing the short pitch stuff, which is fair enough. There's uneven bounce, so you just didn't know, and they had a few chances to pick up wickets. There was a couple of spilt catches that I saw there, and balls going close to fielders but not quite making it. So maybe it was just not going to be their day today, and that's the way it is. So we go into the series. The next test, we're still locked up at one each, which from a New Zealand Black Caps point of view is great. We, as far as appearing in the final, will at Lords next year, because we basically need India to win or the series or draw the series to keep Australia out of it. So, which means we go through. So that's, hey, let's
Oops, wrong one. Sorry, that's the test rankings, which has.
Look at that, Paul. Number one. Who's that? Number one. Oh.
But that's not. Sorry, that's not the one I was trying to share. I was trying to share a different page, which is the. If I can.
That's all right. We're always happy to see us when we're at number one.
There we go. Here's the Test Championship table with. So we can make it a bit bigger so people can see it.
Obviously, it's a little bit confusing if you try to read through it all, because it is based. I think it's going to be based on percentages, isn't it? Who gets into the finals? Because Australia and India and England would have played a lot more Test matches than any of the other nations. I mean, we're basically wound up, finished our series. We've only got 2020s and one dayers coming up now, but Australia and India have got two more Test matches to go. Two more to go. So
they're playing a 5 Test series, are they?
Yeah. Obviously, New Zealand is not good enough to play 5 tests, according to those in the know. We're just a little minnow from down under, tucked away in the bottom corner of the world. Oh, is that the country that's number one ranking, is it? But hey, yeah.
Well, let's since you've gone there, let's because there's a number of things that need to be that come with what I'm going to put up now. So this is the potentially the schedule for the rest of the year. But as part of the interview that New Zealand Cricket gave, one of the points they said was that home tests against opponents other than Australia, India, or England typically lose $400,000. So basically are a loss-making exercise for New Zealand cricket. With the way that the crowds have gone at Wellington, Tauranga and Christchurch in particular, they've actually made a profit when they were actually expecting to make a $4 million loss this year. So, or last year, whichever way it looks, or this financial year. Basically off the back of increased crowds and the new broadcast obviously deal with Spark Sport. So clearly, as New Zealand cricket say, clearly having a winning team helps, but also just the opportunity to see live sport has seen people go out in their numbers and support the guys. And look, having those good crowds at those test matches mean that we may get more test matches in the future, because with them being with them being loss making, you can understand why they can't host them. But if you've got Pakistan and the West Indies being profitable, then fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And these boutique grounds that they take these games to, where capacity is probably only about 3,000-4,000 at the max. That's great, isn't it? At least they've made money. So maybe we might see some more money flow down to grassroots cricket, hopefully. To those people that work away in the community.
Don't get too enthusiastic here. Don't get too high. Look, at least not loss making. This is all from David White, by the way, the chief executive of New Zealand Cricket.
I did have a quick read of the same interview as well, and I thought, hey, that's great news, isn't it? And obviously, as you've got sharing with us on the screen there, well, you've got the year planned out as they'd like to see it. Go ahead. Obviously, we've got Australia coming over for the 5 T20 games here at home, followed up by Bangladesh with more T20s and ODIs. Obviously, the focus on the T20s, and that with the T20 World Cup coming up in India next year is the prime focus.
This year.
Sorry. Yeah, well, I've got to remember that. Hey, we're into this year. Takes a while for the old, for this old brain to click over into the new year, but it will do.
So obviously then there's a break for the IPL, where the top players will be obviously busy. But you say there's no more test matches. Well, look, there's 2 more test matches potentially against England in June. That's also the potential final.
Yeah, I think what I read, England is really keen to play those test matches. Similarly, of course, everyone around the world's in the same boat. So, these countries want to get sport out there, sport being played, so people can see. And obviously, a lot of this stuff is subject to, as we all know, which is, at the moment, it's who knows where we're going to end up. It may be better that they all come down here and play in little New Zealand.
Oh, stop it! Every country or every sporting code or the international sporting codes, like your crickets and your rugbies, they rely on hosting international games, and hence, that's why England want those games. As White says, they're happy to assist England. And he also said, look, a big thank you to the West Indies and Pakistan for assisting New Zealand and supporting New Zealand. And that, look, they had to go through quarantine and all those pieces. He says, look, they're really appreciative of that. So, look, it's good to hear that those thank yous being said publicly as well.
Yeah, it is.
We can't. One of the problems with this is, and one is with the schedule that we're looking at here on screen, is that look. The players could be away from home for 9 months, that's a long time. And you've got to say that some of these West Indies and Pakistan players, if they've been playing in various T20 competitions, they again could have been away from families for a long time. So look, it is taking a toll on these cricket players, because it does take so long to play test matches in particular. Whereas your rugby, you can pop in, play a couple of games, come home, and you're done in a couple of weeks. Whereas cricket, if you go on tour, you've got to be there for a month or more, depending on what you're playing.
Absolutely. And I think, as we were discussing before we came on air, we were just trying to, obviously, each country's got their own quarantining rules and that. And if you're similar to to ours, as soon as you land, you're locked away for 2 weeks, aren't you? Basically in a room, and then you've got to go out and you've got to do a little bit of warm-ups, get acclimatized and that, put a bit of practice in, and then you finally get around to actually playing some games. So yeah, it's a long time away from family and that, and even psychologically it's testing, mentally as well. So it's not easy times to be touring, obviously, around the world, but that applies to all sports and all sportsmen. And us pure mortals who are at home and have, especially here in New Zealand, we're fortunate, and I don't think a lot of people here in New Zealand realise how fortunate we are compared to the Englands and Americas, and all these other countries. How well off we are compared to those places. But that's enough of that sort of blabbering on. We're here to talk about cricket. So
let's just give it quick people for those people listening to the podcast, a quick rundown of what the schedule is looking like then. So between the 22nd of February and the 7th of March, we have those 5 T20s against Australia. The 13th of March to the 28th of March, Bangladesh here for 3 T20s and 3 ODIs. The IPL is expected to take place during April and May, before New Zealand looking to go to England for 2 test matches in June against England, plus the possible World Test Championship final at Lord's that month as well. September, October sees potentially the Black Caps going to Bangladesh for T20s and Pakistan for T20s and ODIs as well. That would be the first time in Pakistan for a very, very long time. But let's just see how that all pans out, or whether they'll actually be in Pakistan, whether they'll be in the Middle East, which is where Pakistan have hosted a lot of games previously. October, November then sees your T20 World Cup in India, followed by a couple of test matches against India in November and December, before returning home to play Bangladesh in 2 test matches and T20s as well in December to finish off the year.
That's a lot of touring in it, Paul. Not much time off, really. And you think them, with the T20s, ODIs, and then test matches, there's going to be a crossover with a lot of players, who are obviously playing in all formats of the game. And then you've got the others who come in and who are specialists, say, in the shorter version. And then you've got the specialists who are obviously there for the test matches. So if the schedule goes ahead, then yeah, these guys are going to be away from home for a long, long time. And that,
I think, look, a lot's going to come down to whether, if the Black Caps do not qualify or for the World Test Championship final, then I'd suggest sending a pure test team across to England, leave out all your T20 and one-day players, and say those guys are the ones who get a rest at that point, because that's the only window there to give them a rest, really.
Yeah.
Do you think the Black Caps have got the depth at the moment to do that, to send a test team to England that doesn't include any of their one-day or T20 players, or particularly T20 players?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, you bring up, because, if we have a look at the country, the teams that, the games that played against the West Indies and Pakistan, the T20s, and that at home this year, and obviously the ones that we've got coming up, there have been a lot of players, haven't there, that have played in those games various times, and so they've tried a lot of combinations and that. So yeah, there's definitely a possibility that you're going to have specialist guys that are going to be in those teams there, but we are limited in our quality and class that we have, and there is going to be crossover there. And Kane Williamson, Tim Southey, Trent Bolt, even you look at Cole Jamison, Matt Henry, who came in for the last Test match. These guys, they're the crossover players, aren't they? There's Ross Taylor, question mark. what happens in that with that. Who else can you look at?
Well, actually, let's just take those names then for the ones you mentioned. So basically, on the batting side, you could remove Kane Williamson. Obviously, will be needed for that for the T20 World Cup. But if you think that he's the only crossover batsman, really, the rest you could potentially have there. So looking at players like Nichols, Taylor, Latham, Blundell, Watling. For Nichols, perhaps, they could all potentially just be pure Test players. Now, Kane Williamson obviously is a massive hold, scoring 388 runs in this Test series. The next one, Nichols got 224, but then no one else, well, apart from Mitchell, who got that century in his one innings, but all those other batsmen I'm talking about didn't get really many runs. But anyway, it would definitely weaken the side. But there's at least there's a batting lineup there, isn't there, that could potentially go to England separate from the T20 players.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's the bowling lineup that we look at, and that's where the main wear and tear is going to happen, isn't it? With Southey and Bolt and Jamison, you've got three top line bowlers there, guys, that are world class and in form, that you're going to use right through the Test matches and the T20s and the one day internationals. So you've got to manage their loads, as that's the wording in it, in the saying, the loads. So there's opportunity for the other bowlers that have been tried through the season, and there's a few guys out there that are doing well and in form. If you've looked at this, watched the Super Smash and that, you got the Dougie Bracewells there, and obviously Matt Henry's one. There's a few other bowlers like Hamish Bennett that they've tried, and that, whether who knows what he's going to be like. And then you got to look at spinners, and you got Mitch Satner, who's the sort of, to me, he's the one day T20 specialist spinner in there. Hopefully you maybe your Ish Sodhi, they regard as a T20 short format player. So, and obviously if you're playing the T20 World Cup in India, those spinners are going to obviously be effective and needed over there. And even on the tours of Bangladesh and Pakistan, this is where they're going to gain their experience playing away from home on those flat, dusty surfaces of Asia. So that's where you're going to bring those guys in, because in general, for fast bowlers and medium pacers, you pretty much bother for the batsman. How many sixes can you hit off them is the question mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bracewell had a good game for the Central Stags yesterday as well, another bowler and batsman. So if we look at the stats from those two Test matches against Pakistan, Jamison took 16 wickets, Bolt 9, and Southey 16. So what do we got there? That's 31 wickets out of 40 being taken by those three guys. So yes, that would leave a massive hole in the bowling attack. But we can't rely on it says the Englishman talking about New Zealand. We can't rely on
ex-Englishman now, ex-Englishman.
Ex-Englishman. Sorry, okay. We can't rely on just three bowlers and expect them to carry the load. Now, sure, Wagner, unfortunately, with his broken foot, would have only got to play one Test match and did very well, picking up 4 wickets there. But still, then those guys cannot play all those games in that list.
No.
They're going to break down.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So they're gonna, there's gonna be, guys introduced, and that's there's and that's what the Super Smash is about, isn't it? The local domestic competitions is for the up and comers to stand out and say, hey, come and pick me. I'm ready to go up to the next next level. And you you take them away and you test them, don't you? Especially to Bangladesh, Pakistan, the warm-up games there, you know, in preparation. And you got to have backup, don't you know, just in case, you know, Southey, Bolt, or Jamison get injured. You know, that's just the life of a fast bowler at the moment. And you know, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Lockie Ferguson at the moment, who's out injured, hopefully mending on the sidelines, ready to come back in shortly. And you know, we've got another young guy who's been around for a long time, fast bowler, who's playing in the BBL over there in Aussie. Adam Milne, who's under the tutelage of one Mr. Shane Bond. So, you know, hey, you never know. There's always, you know, if he performs well over there, you know, I'm sure the selectors have got to take notice of him.
So I've just pulled up the Super Smash stats. So the most wickets is Blair Tickner, currently with 9 wickets. Matt Bacon has got 8. And then you got Doug Bracewell on 7. So those are the top 3 wicket takers in the Super Smash.
Yeah.
Looking at the sort of the best bowling figures, Michael Bracewell has got a 4 for 28. Jimmy Neesham, 3 for 11. Zach Gibson, 3 for 17.
Yeah, so, you know, there's some names we recognise there in it, and there's some names there that we're obviously a bit new to. So, yeah, you know, it's good to see those established guys who've been, you know, in the scene and that, standing up and performing. You want those guys to go back and make it, you know, they should be standing out at the next level down, shouldn't they? Because they've been there and done that. So, yeah, and then obviously, as we've spoken about the upcomers tucked away in the background there. Always looking for a bolter there for this, you know, someone who may just leap out and grab your eye. And obviously, one guy that, to me, who's fitting the all-rounder status, and especially we're looking at Bangladesh and Pakistan, and that is from Wellington, Rachin Ravindra, who's, I think, generally bats 1 or 2 in the order for Wellington, and also has bowled some useful off spin. So it's, you know, one to keep an eye out for in that there. But I guess we should move on. I guess we were meant to cover off the test match, and I was waiting for our 2 experts to join us, but I'm not sure where they're at. So we need to maybe quickly cover off that.
No, well, my fault. I've not given them the link. So I just put the link in just message them the link. So hopefully they'll be joining us soon. Very sorry, Taryn. I just noticed your message there in the live chat. So yes, my bad for not sending the link out, but it has. I've hopefully they'll be joining soon.
Right. Yeah. So that's test. Which obviously I think I can't remember when we were on air last time what day of the test match we were on, but obviously I was trying to rack my memory here. Geez, Paul, it's a bit hard when you get to my age. Trying to remember what happened. How many weeks ago was it now? But we did. Obviously, the Black Caps came through and wrapped that test match up. I think it was in the end with a day to spare, wasn't it? I think in that second innings, really, Pakistan didn't put up much resistance, and that which was a shame. I guess the thoughts were on hopping on the plane and heading home, or some of those guys were heading off to Aussie to play in the Big Bash where they can earn some real coin. So, but we had, once again, I think, standout bowler in that second innings was Kyle Jamison again, wasn't he? He once again just put his hand up and ended up, I think taking 11 wickets in the game, which was and the figures he had was about the 6th best of all time for New Zealanders.
So he took 11 for 117 during the match. Having some issues trying to bring up the details of the actual test match, I'm afraid, folks. But quick info, not playing.
Yeah, but I think that ranked him at number 6 in the list of, like, most wickets taken in a match, and that with figures. I think obviously number 1 is Sir Richard Hadley. You can't go past Sir Richard.
But Arun, we have been saved. The man is here himself. Hi, T. How you doing?
Thank God we've got an expert coming in.
We've got through. Yeah, we've blabbed for half an hour, pretending we know what we're talking about, and now here's
I'm sure it'll mean good stuff. Entertaining.
Finally, an expert. Just before we get on to, we're going to cover off that second test between the Black Caps and Pakistan. Obviously, Taryn, but how's your body after the pretty tough weekend out in the sun there in two full days of cricket?
Nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. I was battling after the last double hitter, but yeah, nowhere near as bad today. Well, probably those painkillers that I took in preparation for it helped.
Or perhaps a long lunch you guys had and didn't, because the other thing were all warming up and you guys were still at lunch. Was pointed out to me.
Yeah.
So what do you? Obviously, you've just watched the end of the test match there between Aussie and India, and we did speak about that at the beginning. But what's your quick summary on, how that test match sort of ended up? I reckon it's India. For India to come through and draw that game was really a top-notch effort. Considering the injuries and that they got through the game, and that, to me, an outstanding effort. Your thoughts on it?
I agree. I agree. I think they probably could have batted a bit better in the first innings, which didn't work out. They left themselves a bit behind, and then to come out having lost 2 wickets earlier on day 4, they essentially only really had about 5 wickets left, because the last 3 don't really stand a chance of doing too much batting. But Bumrah, Saini, and what's the other fella? Siraj, yeah. So really, they had 5 wickets. I think all credit to Rishabh Pant, because at one stage, they're in with a serious shot. I think 2 sessions, 200 runs to win the game. You get through that, you get through the New Rock, you'd back yourself to chase down 120, 140 in the last session, easy. Yeah. But look, I think I'm quite a big fan of Vihari. I've been saying it to everybody, anyone and everyone that would listen to me, that he's actually reminiscent of like a Lakshman without the elegance, very compact and very correct.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see him actually, soak up that pressure and bat. He looked good in almost every test and found a way to get out. So it was really nice, pleasing to actually see him do what he did. And then obviously Pant. I guess that's exactly why they pick him, because when he turns up on any given day, he's unstoppable. And that's the risk reward that you carry by picking him.
Yeah,
we were saying that whilst Pujar was holding down one end and Pant was going for it the other end, that basically the win was still on the cards at that point.
Yeah, it was. And again, I think a bit of credit needs to go towards the management and the captaincy and the leadership side, because not a lot of Indian teams, let alone any team, would fancy a chase in Sydney on the last day, even have the mindset or the intent. And I think it's the new India, like not just the cricket team, but I think it's just the India as a whole, the confidence they kind of carry this generation, and that's kind of for them to actually believe. Having Rohit Sharma helps.
Yeah.
You could sense that they genuinely believed that they could win the game. And then at that point, when they lost Rahane, to then put Pant up the order ahead of Vihari, I think that was a genuine show of intent to want to win the game. So they knew that Bihari could see out the rest of the day if needed to, because he had the technique. But punt genuinely gave you a shot at chasing it down.
Yeah, the way Vihari dropped anchor and pretty much left. I didn't actually see it, but just looking at his stats, the number of balls he faced for how few runs he scored, and that's shows some serious concentration.
Yeah, I think and that's it's part of the job when you're playing out a draw. It didn't help that he didn't. He had that hamstring injury, so I think otherwise he would have probably ended up on 40 to 60 odd. But a lot of these things, I mean, you heard Gilchrist say earlier, had punt actually batted for a little bit longer, Vihari's hamstring actually not given in, India probably would have fancied a chase, and that chase invariably will bring wickets, because these guys are looking for scoring opportunities, which will then in turn, your bat goes further away from your body, brings in wicket-taking opportunities. So it actually played into India's hands that they were restricted through injuries, which meant they had to be quite compact and just ride it out. So they didn't really have a choice, right? The choice was taken out of their hands.
Yep. Just a question for you. I think Arun was mentioned that something like 3 players were injured in that Indian side for this one, but they've had injuries earlier in the Test series. We saw with Sri Lanka down in South Africa, they had like 2 players injured during a Test match. Are we seeing more injuries during Test matches recently, or is this?
I think so. I actually, who was I? I was telling, God, I don't know who I was speaking to, but I just said it's got to be the bubble life COVID effect. Their loading probably just isn't as high as it has been over the years. I'm sure it's not all down to it, but the loading probably isn't there. I reckon you're seeing a lot more. Yeah, they just can't train as freely. They can't train on the same surfaces. They can train, but something as trivial as training with your boots on, because they're probably inside gyms, inside their rooms, working out and keeping their heart rate up, but they just probably aren't running with their boots on as much as they'd like, because they're all limited in times and everything else, right? So yeah, definitely a lot more, and I think it is a direct effect from COVID or the bubble life that they lead.
Sort of, yeah, is that having that real game time, sort of not having played many games, being able to play as many games, and that being match fit, isn't it? Is the terminology that we hear. So they're just not being able to do that. And it's good to see I was using the correct terminology there, Paul, of loading. While there.
I'm sure you know.
Not too bad, eh?
I'm sure you've got your own different liquid loading that you do, so you know.
Oh, yeah. I've got my water here, see?
Yeah. Hydrate before you dehydrate.
That's it. Yeah. Hey, it's just we need to go back, obviously, and summarise that second test between Black Caps and Pakistan.
That feels like an absolute lifetime ago.
Yeah?
That feels like a lifetime ago.
I just said to Paul, I said I was trying to remember what happened,
I think we blinked and they crashed and burned, I think.
Yeah, that's what it was, wasn't it? I think, is it basically a case of they had one foot on the plane, or mine, they've had enough, let's get out of here scenario, and that second innings they just crashed.
I think you'll probably see that if Australia gets on top against India as well. Next test. They're in Brisbane. They're leading this, again, the Queensland restrictive life. So I think if Australia get on top and really pile it on, these guys will be packed. I hope not, but I wouldn't blame them if they just felt, nah, not for us. I think there was a bit more writing on it. A friend of mine was saying a 2-1 loss to India is good enough to give them enough winning time against England to see them out to Lords. If it's anything beyond a 3-1 or 2-1, then they'd have to clean sweep England, which is obviously a tough ask because England's a good touring side now. So I think they probably needed this, and Australia hasn't lost in Brisbane. So the odds are that Australia probably will do well there again.
So Are you knocking us out of that final? And
This is according to a mate of mine who's a Indian cricket fan, so he would have done his due diligence in terms of what would India need to get to Lords. But yeah, if we go back to the Pakistan one, I really want to know why Yasir Shah didn't play.
Yeah, obviously. Is that a question fans might be able to answer for us if he was here?
If Yasir Shah didn't play and they played that random guy Zafar Gohar who scored runs.
Oh yeah.
It was a holiday season, so I didn't get to watch much of it, and it's pretty one-sided test match. It's not really appealing to viewership, really, is it?
I watched it. I enjoyed it. Nothing like watching.
If you enjoy one team absolutely bearing another team,
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but I mean, they keep persisting with that Naseem Shah, man. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So we've gone on about him, but I think if you go back to the first test, the grit that Fawad Alam and Rizwan showed, had they managed to actually draw that test, I think Pakistan would have put on a bigger showing in the second test. Yeah. It does, when you come that close and you either lose or draw, you kind of, in this case, you lose the game, it does drain you emotionally, and it does become very hard to get back up for a back-to-back test match after such a emotionally taxing loss. And again, that's the hangover side of it. I think you saw that in there.
Yeah, I think the other thing is this COVID thing, and that these guys have been away from home so long and that been locked up, etc. It's a different environment, different situation with what they're normally used to when they're touring. I guess, even though obviously here in New Zealand, where they are able to get out and about a bit more than they were anywhere else. I think that still, like you said, has an effect on it. But just from that cat's point of view, though, wasn't it great to see Cole Jamison, gee, what a breakthrough season he seemed to have had.
Man, amazing. 36 wickets in his first 5 tests or something.
Yeah, it's just amazing. To me, obviously he's going to get better. I'd just love to see him if he could maybe add another, say, 5 or 6 Ks to his pace, to get near that 140 or just over the 140 mark consistently. I think to me that would make him even more of a bowler.
I was speaking to Jeet Raval the other day, and we were on Wednesday actually when we were playing against this blockbuster Suburbs New Zealand side. And I asked him, I said, look, is Jamison still the same pace, or is he quicker? He said, yes, he's definitely much quicker than he was when I last played him a couple of years ago, or a few years ago now, 2 or 3 seasons ago. So he is sharper, so he's tracking in the right direction. More than pace, I'm quite interested to see how he fares outside of New Zealand, because I think all his 5 tests have been in New Zealand, conditions and you also kind of come on, without taking away anything from him, you do come on when Bolt and Saudi have opened up an end. You take them overseas, then they're nowhere near as potent as they are at home, which kind of puts the onus back on your first change or second change bowlers to actually do something. I'd like to see how he'd go there and the different challenges. It'll be good viewing. I think on that series, I think disappointing thing was.
Before we move on, about Carl Jamison, will there also be an element of there's more game tape of him now, so people have a better idea as to what? I mean, second season syndrome is something you hear in rugby, but will that game tape people be able to analyse his bowling a bit more? Will he have to alter things up or get more variety?
Probably not a variety, but he'll probably get even sharper and sharper in his own planning, because opposition will probably plan for him better if they'd have a lot more data to work with, right? So you've got all these technical analysts and video analysts that'll tell you exactly what he does, where, when he does, and what color his parade is. So they'll put everything down in front of the batters for them to take it or not, and then so he'll probably need to get sharper with his own planning to counter that. Yes, I think that's what he'll find. But at that level, you'd like to think both opposition and all players respect the opposition to not kind of take them for granted, but they'll just have a greater sample size of data to work with, I think. Yeah, but I think the one thing to finish on there is it was disappointing not to see a spinner from both sides. I think they missed a trick there.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter in the end, but I think New Zealand cricket, or not New Zealand cricket, the Black Caps can't just keep playing matches without spinners, because then you're going to hurt yourself overseas.
Yeah. I mean, while Satner's a great one day or short term, short format player, I don't think he's the Test match spinner.
Well, how can you say that when he just won the Test match? How can everyone, all those people on Facebook, maybe you're one of them too, all bagging Satner for 4 days, and a spinner's job is to work out, win you a game in the last day, and he did, and I didn't see anybody saying anything. Then they'll go, "Oh, well done, Satner. He won the game."
Yeah, look, I'm not saying he's not, but I just think there's got to, I think there's got to be to me, I don't think he's a full package as a spinner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, I should word it like that.
Yeah. But
we need genuine.
He's no Nathan Lyon. Nathan Lyon, but he's not a long way off where Ajaz Patel is. I think Ajaz is just as good a white ball player as well. Like Satner's above him. Yeah, I think it's very tight. To me, the big spinner is probably East Stody still.
Yeah.
If you can. And your dream package will probably be your left-arm spinner batting, because he's got the ability to bat. And then you carry a leg spinner. That's when you're going to start winning overseas. If you go to Sri Lanka, you've got a left-arm spinner who can bat 7. Your keeper bats 6. Then you've got... So Santner can do a Jadeja job.
Yeah.
And then you play a Sodhi at... Then you play Kyle Jamison at 8, Sodhi at 9, Southey and Bolt 10, 11. Then suddenly you've got 5 bowlers. I think Santner offers the opportunity to have 5 bowlers, 3 quicks, which is your strength, plus 2 spinners when you go overseas.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I guess that we should be watching that's up and coming is from from Wellington and Rachin Ravindra.
From all accounts, he's a fantastic cricketer.
Yeah. So I think, as I mentioned to Paul just before in the show, that may be a guy to watch out for. Maybe, we were just looking at the Future Tours program that was sort of gone through today. An outside chance to try and test someone out. When you're touring.
It's probably a little early for that, I reckon, because New Zealand's got good depth now. Like you've got, when you go away, Ajaz is going to go 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Satner's probably going to go. And
so, one of the things we were thinking of was if New Zealand don't make the Test Championship, is it worth them sending a pure Test team to England, leaving out all their one-day and T20 guys because they've had so much of a workload after that? And in which case, if you need Satner or someone like that for your one-day team, then you can sort of maybe put some people in there who are just purely there for the Test matches that are not going to get involved with the T20 at all and play 2 teams.
So have the Black Caps got a tour to England? Have they?
Yeah, let me just bring up the. So here's the. So in June, there's potentially 2 tests in England.
Yeah.
Now, so if they make the World Test Championship, clearly the first team goes, right? All your first choice players.
Yeah.
But if that's not on, then would you potentially just take a pure Test team, knowing that your T20 guys are going to be so hard worked and away from home for so long that you give them June off?
Well, I think the reality is, I think England is quite an important tour. It's a sacred ground, right? Everybody wants to play there. So I can't see the likes of a Ross Taylor, Kane Williamson wanting to skip a tour to England. A tour to England it's not a tour of duty. A tour of duty is probably in Afghanistan or Sri Lanka or something, but these guys will not give away a test tour because it's just the holy grail, so you've got to go, you want to go there, you want to play against, Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad on their deck with the Duke Sports and really challenge yourself. So I can't see anyone. If anything, maybe Saudi, but I saw recently that Saudi wants to emulate Jimmy Anderson. So he probably is going to prioritize Test cricket in the future beyond these two T20s, right? So he might turn to just red ball. I think your bowlers are probably the ones you might just potentially kind of look to leave out. Maybe, again, I still can't think how you'd even leave out a de Grandhomme who might go to the IPL because he'll swing the ball in England. A lot of these guys are seasoned county pros as well. They've played it. A lot of them might want gigs in county cricket one day. So there's a lot riding on a tour to England. Yeah, if anything, the same with India. Maybe the Bangladesh T20 tests is when you probably look at blooding a few people in and resting a few people.
At the end of the year in summer.
Yeah. Up until then, I can't see a Bangladesh T20s away. That's when you'll take your run into the World T20. So that's going to be quite important. The Pakistan T20s on one days will be really important. You won't, I am, for the obvious reasons, the Indian tests away are going to be massive financially. So putting on a good showing in India is important. Going the distance and playing for 5 days. Just to get an invite back. But you don't really have a option. I think you Bangladesh T20s, you can kind of tests. You can play your Will Youngs, your Devon Conways. Look at what's coming beyond that and kind of plan for it.
Yeah. So a couple of topics just to before we run out of time. One of the Australian cricket fielders got caught out on camera walking across and scuffing out the batting marks of the of one of the batsmen. Clearly, so that when he comes in, he's got to remark. It just breaks his concentration or breaks him. Is that some legitimate gamesmanship, or was that a bit underhand?
I saw it. Initially, I thought, that's pretty funny, right? I thought, that's gamesmanship. That's pretty funny. That's good on them.
Yep.
But do you really want to be the bloke doing that after you had sandpaper in your pants? Do you want to be the team that's doing that when you were pretty much pantsed publicly about 18 months ago or 2 years ago? Is that what you want to again bring up when you've just been, your public are getting humiliated for racial slurs off field, and then on field you're carrying on with cheap tricks? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was needed at the time. They're good enough to win without those kind of things, but I think, but a guy like Pant, I don't think it bothers him. But again, also coming out of India, you get taught to mark your guard after every break in play anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
You are good players always mark their guard again and again. Everything's got to be perfect because they're in such a nice process, right? So it shouldn't have mattered. But just doing it is probably it's a cheap trick. Good one.
What? I was going to say, what are your favourite cheap tricks that you've heard about? We're not going to ask you what you actually done because obviously we wouldn't want to incriminate yourself. But what are your favourite cheap tricks you've heard about that go on amongst?
Did somebody throw jelly beans on the pitch? I think it was the England South Africa one when they were using these lollies to shine the ball, so they were carrying jelly beans and stuff, and they're like kind of just throwing it in the middle of the pitch. Just on the length kind of thing, because it'll catch your eye line, right? Because you're staring down at the pitch sometimes, and then it'll kind of be in your way, and you have to go there and do a bit of gardening, and then you come back, so it just breaks your process up. I've always wondered, but never done it. Hand on heart, never done it. I wondered, and I'm sure it's been done, about throwing some stones. You're kind of grazing around the field anyway as a fielder, picking up some nice like pebbles kind of thing, like big enough rocks that could potentially, if the ball hits it, it can deviate heavily. I wondered, so people just walking past emptying their pockets here and there, and just strategically kind of throw it on a length and stuff.
Now this is a reference that only people of my age are going to get. But if you remember the Great Escape, the movie where they are digging a tunnel during a World War II camp, and they have these bags under their trousers that they shuffle to spread the dirt around.
I know that movie. One of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption, and obviously he does the same thing because he's walking the yard and he's just getting rid of all the dirt out of his pocket. Look, the lolly's trick, I think, is probably a thing.
For shining
deliberately bouncing the ball a lot. Deliberately bouncing the ball to get the ball to go soft and old is another one.
Oh, but when you're throwing it in from the boundary, okay.
I've even heard of some very old school coaches. I can't remember their names. Maybe they're either district level coaches or first class coaches or something.
No, I don't want us getting sued. Okay, so be careful about naming and shaming.
No, I'm not naming anyone, but
no names.
I've heard of people even soften the ball up before the balls that they're going to use.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know how it's done, or those kind of things. I've heard some people, just stories, nothing direct hand, but yeah, I have heard you can soften the ball in different ways and those kind of things as well. So yeah, there's plenty of.
Leave it in a mug of water overnight and then dry it out 2 days later. There you go. It takes planning for that. And then finally, Simon Hughes asks us, how do we think the Sri Lanka England series is going to go?
Have they got a full spinning attack, England? They've got some COVID concerns, haven't they?
They've got one player missing. I've forgotten what the guy's name is.
Moeen Ali.
Yeah, he's been put into quarantine because he picked up COVID, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was it him and one other England player he was close to or something?
Oh yeah. I think it'll be closely.
The second player tested negative, so it was okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be closer than we think it'll be, just because people wonder how poor Sri Lanka are, but it's I really hope they do this, and I hope they manipulate the tracks to suit themselves to make it for riveting Test cricket. Because England will come well prepared. They've got the money. They'll have an entourage of support staff to really kind of put in a good showing. So if Sri Lanka are light at the moment, or have been for a wee while now, if they do kind of load things in their favour a bit more, and their big boys, their batters front up, then I think they've got enough bowling stocks to just kind of challenge England and pip them. But I think it'll be quite a tight series.
Was that I don't know if there's just a Sri Lankan player. Is it Saras Jayasuriya?
Oh, she had Jayasuriya.
Who's declared himself unavailable for all forms of cricket in Sri Lanka because he's moving to America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you follow the media reports and track some of this associate cricket, I think Cricket USA is making a big play to try and muster up a bit of a squad from around the world, basically good first-class players who have intentions or relations or connections to the States, to try and make a bit of a push to go up the rankings. So I think I know there's a few players.
Yes, one Corey Anderson, isn't it?
I think John's American, so he'll probably get his residency status that way, and he'll probably play there soon enough. But there's numerous players of different varying backgrounds that are kind of moving to the States to pursue cricket. So I think, I know Shah Rukh Khan and Calcutta Knight Riders have purchased a stake in one of the major leagues, cricket leagues in America as well. So they'll be pumping a fair bit of money, because it's the biggest viewership outside of India for cricket is actually out of the States.
Yeah.
So you can see why. Yeah.
just so you guys know, in the Apple podcast ranking, New Zealand Sports Radio is number 6 in the USA for cricket podcasts. So there you go. We're big in the USA.
There you go. Cricket for and us.
Hey, who'd have think it, eh? The USA.
Yeah. That's not bad, actually.
It's pretty good, eh? Maybe there's an ex-president, about to be ex-president. He apparently has a bit of money. Eh? Do you reckon he might be interested in putting it into cricket?
I've got a funny feeling he's about to lose a lot of money, to be honest with you.
he might have to invest in a few goons to look after him when he's in prison.
Yeah. He could join there was the guy in the West Indies there that was
Stanford.
Yeah.
Stanford, yeah.
Hey, I know we're running out of time, Paul, but just quickly, we were going to talk about the Super Smash. I don't know if you've sort of seen anything, Taryn, or
I've been following the scores. There was a fixture. There's some big runs scored. CD and Wellington seem to be the front runners and doing really well. And
yeah,
obviously Northern and Auckland are the two teams battling away at the back end.
0 for 4, the Aces, aren't they? And they're just playing tonight against the Canterbury Kings.
Oh yeah, are they going at the moment? Are they? How are they going?
Yeah,
what's it? I think what is it? The Canterbury.
So the Canterbury Kings scored 154 for 6.
Yeah.
Off their 20 overs, and Auckland Aces are currently 16 for 1 off 2.2 overs, having lost.
Oh, they've lost Guptill. They've lost Guptill.
Guptill's gone for 6 off 7 runs, and they've got Sawali and Phillips in currently. Phillips on 0 for 2 off 2 balls, and Sawali 9 from 5 balls.
I think you lose Phillips early. That's curtains. I think that's how I'd put it.
Still Chapman to go in there, isn't it?
Yeah. So actually, to be fair, this is Auckland's strongest side. I think. Yeah, you leave out Jamison, who's now a through and through black cap, and Lockie's obviously out. But this is their strongest side. They were pretty light going into this, and they probably have no room for error now. They drop one game, I think they'll be pretty much out of the competition. Same with Northern, who are also middling away through that back end. I believe if they stay relevant, Auckland and Northern, they might have a few black caps come back for the last 3 or 4 rounds, play Super Smash in the lead into the Aussie series.
Okay.
So there's a lot riding for Northern to just kind of win 1 or 2, just keep themselves in the game, and suddenly you could see a Bolt, a Southey, a Williamson, and Watlings and all sorts come back in.
Make themselves available all of a sudden.
I think just for game time and time on feet as part of their
Yeah. Guy who's been standing out in the Super Smash for the Firebirds, young fella called Finn Allen, century, and a couple other scores well over the 50s. I think in the last game he scored 75. Seems to maybe be hitting a form and showing the true potential that he, we all know he has.
Yeah, he didn't really play last year for Auckland, eh? I don't think he did. There was a handful of games. He debuted when I was still playing. He was, he came in and played a game against.
There was a touring team. Well. There was a touring team, didn't he? He came in and debuted.
No, he played for us, Aces.
Yeah.
Against CD, and it was a must-win fixture, and it was his first game. But he's come a long way since then. He's come a long way since then. But
he debuted at 17, I think.
He's doing well. Look, I think the Auckland cricket's detractors will always say, "What's going on? Why do people go out and do well and all that?" But I think that's just how it works. But I think good on if you're willing to take an opportunity, take a risk, and go somewhere else, by all means do it. And if it's going to help, why not? So it serves the big umbrella anyway, so it doesn't really matter what colour you're playing under. You're all playing there to aspire to play for the Black Caps, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but it's not good if you're a Aces fan, eh? I just see Phillips is out, so.
Cool. What's TAB saying now? One of the odds. I think that'll fit
Yeah, I'm not
quickly.
sure. I'll have to go see what the bookie's up to now.
Yeah, I can't bet on cricket for 2 years, so I don't do this.
So Phillips got 4 runs off 6 balls, and bowled out by Nuttall. Oh, sorry, caught by Boyle, bowled Nuttall. I mean, if we're looking at the Super Smash, you say Wellington Firebirds at the top there with 4 wins from 4 games. Central Stags, 4 wins and 2 losses. Canterbury Kings, 2 wins, and it says 2 wins and a loss here. I thought it was 2 wins and a no result, but maybe that's on the women's side. Yeah, 2 wins and 1 loss for Canterbury Kings. So they've only played 3 games. So if they win tonight, they're really kind of in it. Volts, 2 and 2. I think it's those top 3 look to be a step ahead of the bottom 3, to be honest. Yeah. Just quickly on the women's.
Canterbury's in the top 3, aren't they? Sorry. Yeah.
Quickly on the women's side, then you've got Auckland Hearts, top of the table with 3 wins, a loss and an abandoned. Wellington Blaze with 3 wins and a loss. Northern Spirit with 3 wins and 2 losses. And then Canterbury Magicians 2 wins, a loss and an abandoned. So
that's good from Northern Spirit. That's good from Northern Spirit because Auckland should always be strong because Auckland has a established women's league cricket program. Now Northern's quite an interesting case. Like the other ones, I think it's almost an all-stars approach. There's players from Auckland and all like different parts of New Zealand that come together for this campaign as a squad and they play as a team. And in the lead up to that, they run a little development program which has called a Northern Premier League to play some games, etc. But there isn't actually an established cricket program for the regional teams in the districts. So they're doing really well. I always thought they were quite a weak side years ago, but now they're starting to actually come together. There must be some investment. I know Rob Nichol was part of the coaching staff with the Northern Spirit, so it's nice to see them actually do well with a different model.
Yep.
They do have a connection through Parnell, don't they?
Yeah.
Isn't that the Northern District's women's feeder team?
Now. We've got the bit of Auckland club niggling going on there. Otago Sparks 2 and 2, 2 wins, 2 losses. So I mean, look, it's pretty competitive amongst all those. The Central Hinds, the only team with 6 losses from their 6 games, are kind of off the pace. The rest of them with 3 or 2 wins shows you that actually the women's side is pretty competitive this year, which is good to see.
Yeah, but I think there's probably a bit of. I think they're at the peak at the moment. You've got your the White Ferns, the top end players. You know, your Divines and your Bateses, and then they're all in their early 30s or even mid 30s. And after that, I think they're all very young. There's that gap, and I think we'll probably have to wait another 5 years to see rewards for our New Zealand cricket's investment into women's space, because now you're successful at an international level through the individual brilliances of the senior players. Or what's coming, there's the next tier isn't there, and your stars, your Amelia Kerrs, etc., are quite young. So next few years will be quite interesting and challenging, I think, within the women's space.
Cool. Any sort of final things, Aaron?
No. It's upwards and onwards. Obviously, look, we're getting into a diet of local cricket at the moment, and there before Australia head over for the T20s and that. So, yeah, let's enjoy the local domestic cricket while we can at the moment. Just a quick, while I remember, there was the over 50s tournament was running at Cornwall Park, wasn't it? The districts thing. I'm not sure, but I did hear that that one A Dale scored a century in the last game that Auckland played in. So, and I think that Auckland were one of the 2 top teams in that. So I think there was a playoff tonight or a final tonight, starting at 7 at Cornwall Park. But I haven't seen any updates in that. But I'll try and see if we can get some info on that for next time.
Yeah, look, I think there's a case in point for these tournaments. Like, I don't know who started it, but maybe since I've been following AD, I've started seeing more and more social media and coverage for this thing. In my own opinion, I think what that's done is brought a lot of people back out of the woodworks. People in their 50s who kind of, walked away from the game and were no longer connected to the game have actually come back out and started playing the game, which has meant if it's representing their club in your reserve level or third grades or fourth grades, etc., they're actually reconnected with their clubs, and that's only good for Auckland cricket or club cricket, because a young guy then gets to kind of rub shoulders with these older guys, and then their standards improved, everything gets better. Plus, you've got the health benefits of older guys actually getting fitter and actually looking after themselves. So I think whoever's behind it, I think, full credit to them and well done to them, because it's just really nice. Like the other day, we played against Paul Hitchcock, who's a former black cap. Obviously not 50, but, again, for whatever reason, he's playing club cricket and he plays for a small club called Hibiscus Coast. So those guys are so much better for having him on the park than they would be, So again, whatever the drivers are, getting these older guys back, I think it's awesome for club cricket.
Cool.
We see that with our second team, don't we, in Kimu? Because our older guys being surrounded by a few young fellas and that, and that's that's good for those young fellas to mix shoulders with them, and learn. There's a lot to learn from them.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, hopefully, I've requested from Auckland Cricket to get media access for their games next Sunday: Auckland Hearts versus Northern Spirit and Auckland Aces versus Northern Knights at the Eden Park Outer Oval. So hopefully, I'll be able to bring you post-match interviews from those games. We'll see what Auckland Cricket come back with. So hopefully, we'll have that before the next Swinging from the Hip next Monday at 8 p.m. So and hopefully, we'll have Arshwin back to rather than myself, who actually watches, who actually knows a bit more about cricket than I do, even if I did get down to a couple of games this weekend. And you can hear Tarun giving us the lowdown on his post-game reaction on our New Zealand Sports Radio Facebook page. So I don't think I'll ask any final kind of points or things from yourself.
No, I don't. No, I don't have any more to add. I'll be down at the game, so I'll see you there.
So yeah, cool. A wonderful start to your week, everybody, and we'll catch you next Monday at 8 p.m. for the Swinging from the Hip.
Awesome.